So I just got done listening to one of the most pathetic and one of the worst interviews I have ever heard a mixed martial arts coach give after their fighter loses a fight. And I'm talking about Dricus Du Plessis losing to Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 319, to where his head coach, Morne Visser, who we are going to be talking a lot about in this video, he was nothing shy of absolutely delusional, and that's why this is welcome to the clown show. And I think that this is not only just this guy running his mouth, but I think that Dricus Du Plessis is going to have to start making some decisions moving forward on who he wants around him, because this guy, Morne Visser, is absolutely out of control, in my opinion. So we're going to talk about it in this video. We're going to talk about what he had to say before the fight, the things that he said on Submission Radio after the fight, because, listen, when you're a coach, you get all the credit. But when things don't go well, you know, that's where we kind of get to see what you're made of, right? Because the pressure is going to be on. That's where all the critics are going to be out. And the way that you handle that is going to tell us a lot about you, because everything's been great, right? DDP's been going out there, beating everybody. He's undefeated in the UFC. You know, Morne Visser's pumping his chest out. I'm the coach of Dricus Du Plessis, man. Woohoo. And then now that the heat is coming down, Dricus Du Plessis got absolutely humiliated. This guy's making nothing but delusional excuses, blaming the ref. I mean, we got all sorts of things to talk about, but I want to make something very clear before we get into this. This doesn't really have anything to do with Dricus Du Plessis. Dricus Du Plessis got dominated in the fight, man. Like, there's no way around it. It was not a good performance. And sure, there are some things maybe he could have done. He could have tried to, get through some of these positions, not play things so defensively safe on the ground, because I think he was very worried about Khamzat Chimaev submitting him. But the bottom line is, look, this guy made no excuses whatsoever. Big ups to Khamzat. He deserves this 100%. He beat me fair and square. I'll be back, and I'm coming to get my belt back. But for now, it's his, and he deserves it. This was in his post-fight interview in the Octagon with Joe Rogan. He said this. Not a single excuse came from the fighter, Dricus Du Plessis, the guy that was in there, the guy that got dominated, the guy that got humiliated, had the class to get on the microphone and say these different things. This came from the fighter, Dricus Du Plessis, right? That's the fighter. That's the one that everyone cares about. But he's got a guy in his corner, the head coach, this weirdo who I've said before, looks like a lizard. He's a weirdo, right? I've said those things before. I've given him his credit because they put together some good game plans against Sean Strickland in the rematch, against Israel Adesanya, against Robert Whittaker, right? And there's no question that he's clearly had something to do with helping Dricus Du Plessis, without question. But at the end of the day, no one would know who this guy is without Dricus Du Plessis. That's the bottom line. And this guy's head has gotten so damn big that he thinks he's the man. He thinks he's the guy. And he's nothing but absolutely delusional. Absolutely delusional. He completely failed Dricus Du Plessis, man. Completely failed him in this fight. Leading up to the fight as well, which we're going to discuss. Not enough accountability whatsoever. Blaming the referee. Blaming this, blaming that. I mean, it's just a complete failure all around by head coach Morne Visser. Because again, when things are going great, you're going to get the credit. But when they don't go well, that's how sports work, man. When things are going well, the coach is going to get all the props in the world. But when it's not, you're going to be under the microscope. And when you're under the microscope, how do you handle it? This guy's not handling it well at all. Nothing but excuses, delusion. And he's not the damn fighter. Why is he talking like he's the one that was in there that fought Khamzat? Why was he talking so much shit leading up to the fight? Right? That's my biggest question, because before the fight, I mean, this guy had so much to say. It's like he had more to say than Dricus Du Plessis. Right? When you're a fighter, obviously we know fighters are going to talk crap. They're going to try to build up the fight. They're confident. I mean, you're a fighter, man. Like, you're going to say stuff. You're going to try to hype the fight up. And that's part of the reason people were so excited. Dricus is known for his trash talk, being able to rattle his opponents, man. Like, we knew that was going to be the thing, but this guy had more to say than DDP. Right? And then on the countdown, this was a clip that was going around to where he went off on Khamzat. He says, we don't want to try to get away from his wrestling. We want to fuck him up in his own game. That guy is one-dimensional. You've seen his stand-up. I wouldn't even give him a pro license for his shit stand-up. So he basically just said all Khamzat Chimaev is a wrestler. That's what he said coming into this. And I said, what a mistake this would be to underestimate Chimaev on the feet. Now, I expected them to maybe have some sort of answers for the grappling, and they had absolutely zero. None. So you clearly didn't do your job as a coach. right? Which we're gonna talk more about that. But the bottom line is this, man. Like, this guy clearly was talking so much coming into the fight, had so much to say, more than Dricus, it felt. Right? And it's crazy. Why are you talking like this as a coach? Like, if he's like, hey, man, listen, I know Khamzat's a beast, but he better be ready because we're prepared. Something like that. But why are you talking shit like you're the guy getting in there? Like, you're the fighter. I'll tell you why. That's because this guy's head is this big now. Because he's got a championship fighter in Dricus Du Plessis. And if there was no Dricus, no one would know who the hell this guy is. That's the bottom line. He's got a gigantic ass ego now. Huge ego. And I know that him and Dricus have been together for a while. Seems like they have a great relationship. I'm going to be curious to see how things play out, given all the shit that he's kind of been saying, man, right? And he kind of added this extra steam and pressure on the Dricus that was already there, right? Because he explains why he believes Dricus dominated Khamzat in their stare down. I mean, this was just delusional, right? They did the stare down at the press conference, at the ceremonial weigh-ins, and, because Khamzat's getting up there, getting all, whatever. Come on, man. They're trying to sell the fight. These are guys that are about to fight each other. They're going to do what they're going to do. Have you not heard of marketing? Have you not heard of having that intense edge before the fight? I mean, just stupid stuff coming out of this guy's mouth, man. And then after the fight, this is where it all goes down. Submission radio, the big thing here, man, we should have done better, right? So, we should have done better, taken some sort of accountability. But no, let me blame deflect right away and say, but I also think the ref should have done better. So you're basically blaming Mark Goddard here in some capacity for what transpired at UFC 319. What an absolute disgrace this is for Morne Visser to say something like this. Because you know what's crazy? Mark Goddard helped Dricus Du Plessis more than he should have in that fight. Mark Goddard did an incredibly horrible job reffing this fight. There were times he stood this fight up when he had no business doing it. None. Why in the world was he standing the fight up? Like, trying to give Dricus Du Plessis an opportunity. And even when he did, Khamzat took his ass right back down. It looked like Dricus had never wrestled a day in his life coming into this fight. And in the fight, he looked horrible when it came to the grappling. Horrible. Got dominated. And this guy is, instead of being like, well, we got to, in which he did talk about the things that they got to work on, but you're going to blame the referee, Mark Goddard, who stood the fight up quite a few times, when he should have never have done that. So you were gifted those opportunities, but yet you're going to be like, we should have had more of that. Because you, as a coach and as a fighter, didn't have the answers for what Khamzat Chimaev brought to the table. You were so confident, Morne Visser. How did that look at UFC 319? You got humiliated, as a coach especially. The ref should have done better. What a joke. What an absolute joke. He's acting like there was some sort of like crazy stoppage or, no. No. You even got help from Mark Goddard. You got help that you should have never have gotten from the referee. You were gifted some serious opportunities to get back to your feet, maybe stop a takedown. Maybe Dricus could have capitalized in those moments, but no. Khamzat took his ass right back down. So to be like the ref should have done better, what ludicrousness is from this guy, man. What ludicrous is this from this guy? Where's the accountability here? Oh, but wait, he said we should have done better, so there's some sort of accountability. Bullshit. No accountability here, in my opinion. Blaming the referee when he already reffed a horrible fight and stood them up a few times. Just absolutely disgraceful by Morne Visser here. And he explains wrestling was a focus for DDP going into UFC 319. However, he now knows exactly what kind of preparation needs to be done ahead of a potential rematch with Khamzat Chimaev. Now, before we get into what the hell he said here, this has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard from a coach. Now we know what we need to do for Khamzat Chimaev. Now we know how to prepare for him. What a failure. What an absolute failure. What do you mean that, now you know how to prepare for him? That was your job coming into UFC 319, was to prepare for this guy. You knew exactly what Khamzat was going to do. You knew exactly what Khamzat was going to do. Which it makes me feel like the whole game plan was, let's just survive early, don't take any chances. Chimaev will eventually burn himself out, and then we'll take over in the championship rounds. That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like they were looking at. Because there was zero urgency from Dricus Du Plessis here. He had no answers to anything that Khamzat Chimaev was doing. So, now we know what to do. You talk about a failure. Failure as a coach. We practice everything except the crucifix. You practice everything on the ground except for one of the most horrific positions that you can possibly be in on the ground. I mean, if that's real, don't bother coaching MMA anymore. You are working with your fighter to help defend against the crucifix position. You got to find a new coach, DDP. You got to find a new coach or something. You had no preparation in this position, one of the most horrific positions to be in on the ground as a grappler, as a fighter, whatever you are, in the crucifix position. One of the worst possible places you can end up. You didn't practice it at all. It's one of the dumbest things I have ever heard. Oh, Khamzat, I wouldn't give him a pro license for that shit. Well, I wouldn't give you a pro license for your shit fucking coaching. You didn't practice the crucifix position? If I had a coach and I would nothing to do with this guy anymore. If this is really what's going on here. We had a lot more wrestling days than stand-up days because we knew that was what Khamzat was going to do. Well, no shit. No shit. Right? You knew what Khamzat was going to do, but now you know what needs to be done in terms of the preparation. He stayed on Dricus like a fucking blanket, so I'm looking for blankets around the world that's going to help us get those blankets off of us. I mean, talking about Khamzat Chimaev's skills, like all he did was lay and pray for 25 minutes. He was advancing positions. Every time DDP would turtle over, Khamzat was threatening with a rear naked choke. It was very clear that Dricus was afraid to make any moves on the ground, which is what made the fight boring. He wasn't trying to even scramble. He was getting flattened out, putting in the crucifix position, man, time and time again. And then DDP was fighting like hell to get out of it. Because there were times that it looked like DDP, if he wanted a way out, he could have took it. And he didn't. He kept trying to work through this stuff, but he didn't take any chances. He was being so reactive and so defensive, trying to survive the whole time, that he didn't even give himself much of a chance. And a lot of that, I feel like that was them coming into this being like, don't worry, settle down, Dricus. Khamzat will burn himself out. Remember after the first round, that's his best round. That's what he's got, man. Yeah, right. You saw him working with Sam Calavita. You knew that, come on, man. And you didn't even make him work. As a coach, you should have been like, listen, if we kind of want him to burn himself out, we at least got to make this guy work. We got to create some scrambles. We got to take some chances at least. Because you didn't even really make Khamzat work. I mean, this is just disgraceful. And to say it was a blanket. No, you got dominated. Khamzat showed levels with the grappling. That's what I said coming into this. That's why I said Khamzat was going to bulldoze him. There were levels when it came to the grappling. Khamzat is significantly better. Dricus had zero answers. He pitched a shutout. I mean, it's just unbelievable here from Morne Visser, man. This is absolutely horrific to hear from a coach. It's abysmal. There's no excuses for the way that this guy is carrying on. I don't know if he's just doing this shit to create headlines and buzz, which I don't even think that that's what it is. And if that is the case, how selfish. Trying to steal away moments from your fighter is what it feels like. I mean, a lot of the attention coming into the fight was talking about what this guy was saying about Chimaev. I mean, he was talking so much smack, man. So much smack. And the fact that they felt so prepared and all these different things, you clearly weren't. And you practice everything but the crucifix position. That's embarrassing. And the fact that he even admitted that is honestly disgraceful. Because I don't think I would have. How can you possibly not work on this position? One of the worst positions you could possibly end up. So he failed Dricus. That's basically what he admitted, more or less. You didn't practice all the positions, all the scenarios you could possibly end up against the most dominant MMA grappler we've ever seen in the sport. Well done, Morne Visser. Well done. And let's just keep it rolling, man. I'm not sleeping until we get that belt back. I know everybody's laughing and say, hey, yeah, Dricus was exposed. I'm a bad loser. Dricus is a bad loser. It's going to take whatever it takes for us to get back. That belt back ASAP. It's not going to be a long story. One fight in the belt. That's us backing the belt. To all those naysayers and all the guys who support blanket-style MMA, blanket wrestling, we're in the real fight game. And we'll be back again and surprise you of just taking that belt back again. I mean, look, this guy, he's just a clown, man. He's a clown, right? And instead of just being like, look, we just got dominated. We just weren't prepared for this. We trained hard. We underestimated Chimaev, and that's exactly what they did. They underestimated Khamzat Chimaev. They thought that he was going to come out there, blow his load early, and then that was going to be all she wrote, and they would take over. He was like, he's a one-dimensional fighter. Well, yeah, but if that one area is so much better than yours, Khamzat is not a one-dimensional fighter. He has a specific skill set that just happens to be better than everybody else's. He was landing some decent shots on the feet against Dricus. We've seen him knock out a guy like Gerald Meerschaert, knock out a guy like Ikram Aliskerov. You clearly underestimated Khamzat. And I don't know where the ego and all these different things came from coming into this fight against one of the most dominant grappling forces we've ever seen. You should have been prepared for every possible scenario on the ground, and you clearly didn't. And then instead of taking the accountability of being like, I failed as a coach, we didn't work on all these positions, we're just not good enough to compete with Khamzat in that particular area. We didn't make him work. We didn't take enough chances giving ourselves the opportunity. We couldn't stop any of the takedowns. You just say, blanket wrestling, boring style. You got dominated. We're used to Khamzat Chimaev just going out there and running through everybody. And I thought he would run through DDP. But to go out there and completely dominate, I mean, you could have argued there was 110-8 in there, I think, that the judges gave him. You could have made the argument that there were multiple. One-sided beatdown, over 21 minutes of control time. And as a coach, you're just going to come out here and say, yeah, it was a blanket MMA style. No, you got dominated. Stop making excuses. We don't want to make any excuses. And then all you do is make excuses. So, and I get it. Look, he's a bad loser. Dricus is a bad loser. He kind of, was talking about that. Fighters come into his gym. If they kind of, losing's a learning opportunity. This guy doesn't like to hear it. I get his mindset, wanting to go out there, wanting to show out. But at the end of the day is you are the coach. You are not the fighter. Why is this guy yapping so much, man? He's acting like he's married to Dricus or something. It's just so weird to me, man. The way that this guy carries himself is so odd. So weird. And he's saying all this stuff. This isn't even coming from DDP, the fighter. And we know that DDP's a hard worker. We know that he's got grit and heart, and he's going to get back to the drawing board, try to figure some things out, get back on track, for sure. They underestimated Khamzat Chimaev, and I think that was part of him. He underestimated Khamzat. He's like, he's one-dimensional, which he's not one-dimensional. Great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu, solid stand-up. He's just so dominant in a particular area, and clearly you had this arrogance to you, like, oh man, I'm the great puzzle solver here in Morne Visser. I'm just going to go in there and we're really going to show Khamzat. We're going to fuck him up at his own game. Yeah, how'd that work out? And then he's talking about we're making plans to fix these mistakes. Give me 12 weeks, whatever it is, to go out there and really try. I'll link this interview down below so you guys can check it out. But I'm already on the phone. We're already doing all these things, trying to bring in all these people. Now we know how to prepare. Where was all that before? And he was talking about, when Khamzat gets these positions, it's the way that he's able to squeeze, keep you close, and it's all the resets. Yeah, we were working on Dricus getting out of position, but then now we need to work on if the guy keeps the position, fighting multiple times to get out of it. Basically chaining things together, which is what Khamzat's so good at. I mean, this guy's a clown, man. Acting like he's some sort of MMA genius going in there completely out-coached in this fight. Just didn't do a good enough job of preparing Dricus, clearly. And I know Dricus is the one in there that goes in there to perform, and ultimately it's on him. But when you're hearing stuff like this from a coach, I mean, how stupid. How stupid, right? And then he says, Dricus's coach says they will destroy Khamzat Chimaev in a rematch. We're going to face Khamzat, and I want to destroy him this time. And I know it sounds easy. If you can only get the guy to not take you down, stand back up, and just punish him. Sounds simple, right? He sounds like he's got the answers. Where was this at 319? Where was this? I mean, I could say anything I want to, right? I could say that I could just, I'll train a couple days and I'll go in there and outstrike Alex Pineda in some sparring, dog. We're just saying anything now, huh? This is crazy. You're going to dominate him in a rematch? You just got dominated. 50-44 or whatever it was. I mean, Dricus needs a new coach. That's what I think. And I know he's in South Africa, right? This is one of the bigger gyms, I think, over there, right? He's been with this guy for a really long time, so the loyalty and all those kinds of things. And I'm not one of those that it's like, oh no, things didn't go so well. Well, we lost for the first time. Fire everybody, new team. That's not how I roll. But when we have stuff like this going down, coaches carrying on like this, I mean, this is nonsense, man. This is a problem. Having a guy yapping so much and then just was completely out-coached and not prepared for this fight. Khamzat's team clearly told him to take your time, don't rush, and go in there and do what you have to do to get the win. Winning the belt is the most important thing. Don't rush positions. And this guy's out here saying, I want to destroy him this time. And only if we could keep him on the feet. Isn't that what everyone would love to do against Khamzat? And no one has the answers. That's what makes Khamzat so special. So you're going to destroy him after you got destroyed. And it wasn't like this fight was close. It wasn't like DDP, was down around heading into round 5 and Khamzat edged it out. That's like how he's talking here. Your fighter got dominated. Completely dominated. And you were gifted stand-ups from Mark Goddard and none of it meant shit. Khamzat took you down every single time. Failure by a coach, man. And Kamaru Usman even weighed in on this on the Pound for Pound podcast saying Dricus Du Plessis' team had a lack of respect to Khamzat's skills, which led to them losing by domination. Exactly right here from Kamaru Usman. It's exactly how I feel. And no matter how prepared they were, to be fair, I think Khamzat wins no matter what, but I figured that if the fight got into the later rounds, we would see DDP start to solve something. Maybe stop the takedowns, force Chimaev to have to stay on the feet a little bit longer, defend some of the takedowns, reverse some of the positions, not until the last minute of the 5th round, where DDP's coach was like, we only needed one more minute, man. You don't think Khamzat was getting a little loosey-goosey because it was late in the fight and he knew he had it in the bag? Just absolute, what a failure by Morne Visser, man. An absolute disgrace. And to have Kamaru Usman, a guy like this who's been in there with Khamzat Chimaev, he's spoken very highly of Khamzat. Right? This is exactly it. This guy's so arrogant, man, because it's like, well, we went out there, we beat Strickland, we beat Adesanya, he's feeling himself. People know his name now as a coach. And I had given him credit before because they did come up with some good game plans against Adesanya. The way they were throwing the kicks to the body, switching stances, not just standing with him the whole time, level changing, giving him things to think about, doing the same thing with Strickland. They had some good game plans in those fights. But those are strikers, man. Khamzat's a totally different beast. And how you could go in and think that this guy's just one-dimensional, like all he does is one thing. It's just crazy. Complete failure by Morne Visser, right? And Kamaru Usman just kind of emphasized what I'm getting at. And look, here's the bottom line. Morne Visser in the interview is talking about, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to work on this, and we're going to take some time, then we're going to take another fight, win that, and then we'll get back to Khamzat Chimaev. So he's not getting an immediate rematch. When you get dominated like that, Dricus is not getting an immediate rematch, and he knows that, and the coach even knows that. So fair play there, I guess. The bottom line is this. Morne Visser failed Dricus Du Plessis coming into this fight, 100% with the preparation, acting like, oh, well, now we lost, so now we know what to do. Really? Really? Coming into this fight, you acted like you were so sure that you had the answers for Khamzat Chimaev, and you couldn't stop a single takedown. So clearly you didn't do what you needed to do to prepare Dricus. You're the guy that wants all the credit. You're the guy that's always out here talking. And the bottom line is taking a few months to work on these problems that Dricus Du Plessis has. These have been problems that Dricus has had throughout his entire career. That's why I kept bringing up the Derek Brunson fight, even the Darren Till fight. These guys were putting him in some bad positions. He's clumsy, he's awkward. Yeah, he's goofy on the feet, but on the ground, you can't be like that. And he relies too much on brute strength, which is what he got away with against a guy like Derek Brunson. Khamzat doesn't give you the space, and Khamzat's super technical. It doesn't matter how much Dricus tries to refine and work on these things, he will never beat Khamzat Chimaev. He won't. Outside of timing an entry with a knee or something fluky like that, he never beats Chimaev. He doesn't have the ability to keep up with what Khamzat brings to the table. There's just too big of a gap, man. You need a lifelong lesson of 2-3 years Dagestan and forget. 2-3, he needed that a while ago. The guy's 31 years of age. Yeah, fighters get better, but to literally morph your entire game to be able to deal with a super elite specialist like Chimaev, it ain't happening. It's just not happening. Look at what Khabib was doing to guys. Conor, Poirier, Gaethje. And I know that those guys are known for their striking, but they've literally practiced grappling for most of their careers as fighters. All those years. And look at what happens when they get in there with Khabib. There's a level difference. When Islam goes in there against guys, there's a level difference, man. There just is. Even like a guy like Merab with his pace, what he brings to the table. A guy like Fluffy Hernandez, right? I know that these are a little bit different, but fighters train grappling all the time. At least they should be. And Dricus does. Remember we submitted a whole Gracie team, all those different things. I told you none of that was going to matter. This is MMA, man. And when it comes to MMA grappling, Khamzat is the best in the game right now. And I think he's the best we've seen. He's explosive. He's fast. He can control you. And now that we saw him go a solid, hard 25 minutes, I mean, he's just a complete nightmare, man. And he's a nightmare matchup for Dricus Du Plessis. Dricus does not have the ground skills to be able to keep up with this guy. And Morne Visser acting like we just need a few months and we're going to fix the problem. Just an absolute joke. An absolute joke. The guy's a clown. He failed Dricus Du Plessis coming into this fight. He was way too cocky, way too overconfident. And for a coach to sit in there and basically admit that, I mean, yeah, he was honest, so you could be like, well, at least he's honest. Yeah, sure. But it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. One of the most devastating positions you could end up on the ground. Yeah, we just didn't work on the crucifix position. We just didn't do it. We didn't think it was necessary. What is the thought process? What is the thought process? Dricus Du Plessis, this was without question the worst loss of his career. Got completely dominated, and the coping from his coach and the delusion is just flat out embarrassing. It's embarrassing for Dricus, even though this isn't coming from DDP. Having his coach basically be like, what is this guy, like his Paul Heyman to Brock Lesnar or something? This guy's just like talking for him, acting like DDP can't speak or something. This guy needs to like get the hell out of the way. He needs to, if Dricus needs to have a conversation with this guy, shut the hell up, stop doing interviews, stop talking so much smack, leave that to me, I'm the fighter. Because after that performance, getting humiliated by Khamzat Chimaev, completely dominated on the ground, this guy has no room to be chatting about anything. Whether he's doing it for clicks, views, I don't even think that's the case. I think that he's just so ego-driven right now because he's coaching a big-name fighter like DDP and he's a nobody. Horrible look from Morne Visser. Incredibly disappointing to see. The way that he's handling this is embarrassing. It's going to be interesting to see how Dricus Du Plessis bounces back because I know that he's a workhorse. He's a great fighter. Ran into a very hard puzzle in Khamzat Chimaev. It's going to be interesting to see kind of where things go with Dricus and his coach because I think DDP is going to have to make some decisions because having a guy like this who's consistently yapping and saying nonsense like this, it's not a good look for you, the fighter, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. See you next time.